Okay. That's great. That's great. Well, hi. Hello.
Hello, everyone. We are talking about the law of attraction. Um, and I guess to really sum up my understanding of what the law of attraction is basically it's based on our vibration. And so the foundation of it is like attracts like. So whatever is the best match to our current vibration is what we are getting, and our reality is reflecting what our vibration is. That's my understanding. Does anybody else understand differently? Wants
That's
to
it.
That's
expand? Okay.
that's
No,
pretty much
that
it.
works for me.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at some quotes this week because of the class, and one was the Buddha, and it was really interesting. Buddha, he says, what you think you become, what you feel you attract, what you imagine you create. So it's been around a long time, and there were a couple of others that were pretty interesting. One was the law of attraction is the law of love, and it's the law by which we are created. It is the law by which we attract, and it is the law by which we are sustained. Wallace D. Wattles.
Oh, yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, that, yeah, and it's really funny. This is, so we're attracting what we are, and all these things that we desire, we're just not in a vibrational match to it.
Well, do you think that the vibrational match is being held back by a limiting belief?
Of course. You know, I've kind of come to the conclusion that this that focusing on what you don't want is really where we're at. And I see that, and I was trying to teach my 17-year-old grandson about this week, and it was really interesting because he was having a meltdown, and he's just gone through a relationship breakup. He's placing too much importance on one person and not understanding, that it's his vibration was the reason for the breakup. And so I've had
Don't
some
miss being a teenager.
I've had some really interesting conversations with him about it. And, and then I had to come to the conclusion is this is just where he's at. And I have to accept him where he's at. And I remember being 17, and I still have limiting beliefs at my age. And I don't know if you have more when you're young or more when you're my age, but they seem to shift around a little bit as throughout your life. But I know at 17, so I worked with him a little bit. I think that love is the answer. You have to love yourself to get what you want. You have to come to accept yourself, accept your life, and understand that all these things you believe are an illusion. They're just not true. Now there's, how does everything you're taught growing up turn into it's wrong? So how do you undo that? So it's trying to unpack it to understand that
It's interesting that you brought that up because I think that was a question that I had during the boot camp call where I was trying to ask at what point does the switch happen? When do we stop accumulating limiting beliefs and start working on limiting beliefs? Because I kind of got the idea that, most of our limiting beliefs were created during childhood. But then I also thought about being a teenager, and how some of those high school experiences, can really create some interesting limiting beliefs in and of themselves. So yeah, that's a really interesting question. At what point in time do we have, because Christy seemed to indicate that at some point you stop accumulating them and you start living with them and hopefully working on them, from my understanding. So
Makes sense. Makes sense.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I think you start to realize that everything is flexible, and that, I think I was rigid when I was that age, 17. And think of the idea of confidence. So if you're vibrating confidence, then you're in alignment with your desires. But if you're vibrating fear, then you're going to attract a partner who's based in fear, or, and when they, the quote of the day from White Light was, like vibration attracts like vibration. So, and they gave us some examples in the exercises where, like, a robber is attracted to a police officer. So you have to, so the victim is attracting the perpetrator. And so, when you start to see how, oh, I attracted that. Oh, I attracted that. Then you begin to question your beliefs. Like, I believe that all people are good, so I might not run around doing harmful things. Go ahead.
The only thing I don't understand about that, Tami, because I completely understand what you're saying, is if I take that to a school shooting, are the children victims, are they attracting that? Or where is the difference in the attraction point versus they came in here for a specific intention and that was their intention? Like, I don't know where that line is, from that standpoint, because
I agree, because that doesn't explain horrendous crimes by
right,
beautiful angels. Children
right.
are rarely, it
A
doesn't
3-year-old getting
explain.
hit by a car, those
Yeah,
random things where
right.
you're like, is that really attracted? That type of thing. So those
I
are
heard a story the other day, and I think it was on a podcast, but the father was extremely fearful, and he moved from where he lived for his child. And then once he moved, he ran over his child. He was afraid of the traffic in the road. So, and I don't understand. I have, I mean, school shootings, that's a great example.
Mhm.
Are all the children, did they agree before they were born to do this for all of us? And how does that create love? So in other
Well,
words, even that is love.
yeah, it's all perfect. And I reconcile it by likening it to the Holocaust, where I'm like, I believe those people of the Holocaust didn't come with the intention to participate in that with the, because like, you can't predict the future, but you do all these things with the idea and anticipation that it's going to result in more love down the road. Like right now, we couldn't even fathom something like the Holocaust ever happening again. And so I would like to hope that these souls who are participating in the school shootings are doing it for the same purpose. That at some point there will be some sort of flip, and we couldn't even imagine a world where, it may not be in our generation, but hopefully in some generation there is a world where you couldn't even imagine there being a school shooting. So that's what I'm holding on to.
Go ahead, Rayce.
I think it's coming closer to that. The distance or separation between those things is widening for anybody. And so I think there is they come in a lot of times to make a point. And when you have that point, you go, what was this? How did it help us in looking at this? And then what happens is that we end up looking into everybody else's, where they're coming from, what they're doing. And so it's really hard to rationalize that, even to sit down and look at it and think about it. So I look at it like, okay, I know that they're on a path. It may not be the path I was on, but they chose it, and I respect that. And I know that it's probably not going to come into my life because of my vibration, but other things will, that will have an effect upon me to change, move forward. Those situations, I think, are a lot of times made to show the public that the way that we're looking at it is from being this tremendous victim as opposed to a creator of things. You see that we are right now in a stage of massive victimhood in this country, in this world. Not so much the world, but mostly our country. And that there are all these verticals which separates us from each other. And so in looking to find that oneness in everything, you have to wrap your arms around the thing which repels you and the thing that you're attracted to, because they're both the same thing. They're not any different. So to me, I have never been really challenged on that, but at the same time, I know that it's working out the way that it's supposed to, and I do not put a lot of energy into it. I put an observation, and I try to minimize my judgment, which I'm better at. But at the same time, it's something that I just go, why am I investing my thoughts in this? Because if I, as my being, accept me to the fullest level, then that's a change in the vibrational scheme of the world. So if we all took that stance, would it not affect everybody? Now, are those things still going to occur? Sure, because they're on a different path. But the collective that's moving forward is going to provide more energy. Maharishi used to say, if we can maintain a 51-49 between this side and that side, we'll be okay. And so sometimes this thing rises a lot, and I think now it's starting to rise even at a greater level. It's because of what we do. I mean, it's amazing. I'm always just taken back at how much we've all grown in this whole situation, and we don't actually go back and look at it and put our arms around it and say thank you, clap that up, because man, look where we are. Because when Joshua was talking about you guys are the leading edge stuff, I know everybody's going, huh, me? You're talking about me? But it is. So I think that the things which are occurring outside of us are there, but they're mostly there for the people that are within that confines. Because it doesn't necessarily drift over. My nephew, he was in Vegas when they had that guy up in the hotel shooting, and he was a firefighter, so he took off and started pulling people out, and there are bullets winging by him. Well, now he has a little bit of post-traumatic syndrome in him, but at the same time, he never thought twice about this. He figured, I'm going to give to do this. And that's part of our mission, is that we just have to give. We have to serve. We have to be more. And if we do that, then that channel, that beacon starts flowing and people start responding. And there's still going to be those things. I mean, but it's something that I go, I'm not going to, at my time in life, and I'm not going to invest a lot of energy in it, because I got other things I want to do.
And I think that's a really good point, Rayce, too. That comes back to the law of attraction and the fact that what you put your focus on is also what you attract to you. So if you're going to focus solely on the bad things, then more of that is going to be what you're going to see and experience. Just so, like, I had no idea the attacks in Israel had happened. Not a clue.
A guy told me that the other day. I said, what's going on? He goes, oh man, it's World War III. I said, Oh, really? I said, okay. I said, well, here I am. I just happened to, it doesn't bother me.
Well, for a
Yeah.
split second, I was like, I'm living in Kumbaya land over here. And I felt a little guilty because I was like, oh my God, should I be paying attention? And then I was like, no, nope, doesn't concern me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just like you said, Race,
Yeah.
that is the experience that they have chosen to have.
Yeah.
And that is for them and not for me. And it's all perfect.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you know,
One thing that I've been,
go
go ahead.
Go ahead, Joanne. I'll
Okay.
tell.
Oh, okay. Uh, one thing that it's really been resonating more and more is when they talk about we can never know what the other person is feeling or how bad it is for them. And I'm really recognizing that more and more because when Joshua says, from where we're at with our raised perspective and emotional sensitivity, the tiniest little thing of feeling wrong or bad seems so enormous just because we are so sensitive to it. But then I think back to before I had this perspective, and when I still, even though I was a glass half full, very positive type of person, I still was living as a victim. I still felt like, things were happening to me. I did have a large part of my life of the perspective that things were also happening for me, but it was from God or a higher power. It was still something external, like a parent teaching a child a lesson, and it was still from without instead of within, and it was me, and I am the source, and I am the God, and I am the parent,
Yeah.
But yeah, so until I flipped that, then it was like, but before that, even with probably a more positive perspective than a lot of people have, I still was in victim mode. But I can even remember having experiences, and it wasn't so much the experience, even stuff that was like physically painful or really emotionally painful. In that moment, going through it, whether it's because we go into shock or sometimes, on a physical level, when someone goes through a physical trauma, they kind of detach, dissociate, which is a blessing. And I know Christy's talked about people that had near-death experiences, or people that had passed over, and they ask about the time of their passing, and they're like, I don't know, I was walking away when that guy was, attacking me. I have no clue what happened. And you think, oh, that's great. And I've heard that from other sources, that our soul knows when to leave, and even though our body's still reacting, we're not really aware of that. But all that to say, whenever I look back and think of those moments, it wasn't in the moment that I felt as bad. It was thinking about it seconds later or minutes later after the fact, going, oh, wow, that happened. That was awful. Oh, I can't believe, attaching that good or bad to it based on, oh, well, society says that happened, so I should feel awful, and it's like, what if we didn't do that? But then I think those, in those moments, your vibe is so low that you're kind of used to it. You just really are almost desensitized to feeling bad until you raise your perspective, and then feeling bad is so, oh my gosh. But I can remember moments where it's like, wow, that I went through something like that. And if I would look at somebody else and I would judge them as having a horrific experience, and not saying that, traumatic experiences are pleasant by any means, or abuse or any kind of anything like that is, or war or whatever, is something we would want to go through. But I judge that they have, like, oh, I can never go through that. Oh, that must be so horrible. But then I look at times when I had a lesser perspective, and I survived, and I was fine. And mostly it was my judgment of the experience that kept me thinking it was bad. What if I just would have been, wow, okay, that happened. All right, moving on. We're all okay. I'm still here. But no, I, kept attaching the meaning to it, and then suffering, and bringing that suffering into the next moment, and the next moment, and the next moment. So, so I think back to those moments, and I think, well, if I felt like that and I didn't feel as bad why am I assuming these other people are feeling
Mhm.
horrific or something that I can't imagine? I don't know if that makes sense, but that just, when you talk about, you know, your pre-birth intention and signing up for these experiences, and this is what I want to, how I want to, you know, explore the universe. We have no idea how awful it truly feels for them. We're just
Right.
guessing, and we're also guessing for a perspective that, like, now sometimes it feels like getting a hangnail feels like awful, you know, like we're so used
Well,
to being up here that it's like, oh wow, you know, and I'm like, so I can imagine going through this horrific event.
well,
But
things that are,
yeah.
tragic, like war. I, I came across a video today, and I was talking with my daughter-in-law about the Israeli-Palestine war, and basically, we were this video I was watching was a Holocaust victim, and he was saying that the idea of an Israeli state is separation, and they're not always being kind. In fact, they're doing cruel things. So the idea of oneness isn't being, these are people that want to isolate themselves, based on religion and ethnicity, and the atrocities. And he visited Palestine, and he cried every day for the Palestinians. And he's a Jewish Holocaust survivor. And his take on it is, it is awful, but it's not, you can't really take one side in it. That and so, being neutral about it is the highest, I guess, the highest form of love. However, as a human, any type of violence or destruction, that's just not how we're taught. But some people thrive on violence and destruction, and they're excited by it.
And I was actually going to expand on that. I don't remember if Joshua just said it or said it a few Joshua lives ago, where he's like, you don't know what people chose to come here to experience. This is the only place we can come to truly experience separation. And within that separation, they can choose to experience atrocities such as war and everything else that goes with it and what have you. So if that's what they chose to experience, because everything is neutral in the non-physical, they don't see it as bad. They just simply see it as an experience,
Right.
In and of itself, to be able to know what that feels like in and of itself, which I thought was very fascinating in helping me understand true neutrality, because I was like, everything is neutral. And I don't know what anyone chooses to come here. And even though, again, just like you said, Rayce, I would not choose it. I would prefer that it not be me. But I still don't, that doesn't mean that I still have to judge it one way or another based
Right.
on
It's our judgment of it.
Yeah.
And,
I
and those I mean, there are cultures where dying in battle, it's an honor. So they're honored to die in battle. And, that isn't something that I choose to feel in this lifetime, hopefully. And we're supporting one side. Our country is supporting one side. We take sides in battles, but the history maybe there's a long history when it comes to war and battle. But anyway, but they have to be a match to it to be there.
Yeah.
Whenever you get the politicians involved, it goes on for a while. I mean, it's amazing. The thing we were talking about here sounds, and which I've been thinking a lot about, is experience, and how every moment is an experience. And so when people do things, they do them unconsciously. They don't know that this experience is actually a gift. It's very exciting. It's unimaginable. They just walked into it and they go, okay, that's okay, I'll do this. And you go, and so it really brings you back to the moment, the now, and the love of the now. And I think that when I focus back on that and I begin to really think about it, everything else begins to get very smooth. Because this is the only moment right now. And if that experience is so heightened by love and acceptance and oneness, I'm going, well, I just hit the home run. It works. And so to me, it's in watching people, I try to watch their experiences now to see how they touch upon and maximize them. These people are not what we talk about. They're just, regular folk. I watch them, I go, wow, that this guy, you can see he's going through this little experience, and all of a sudden there's like a little, it's like a puff. And you go, he's experiencing something, but doesn't know what it is. And I go, part of us in our service is that how do you then share that with him? And then you have no idea where he is on this level. and so it's that inspiration becomes really critical. Is this an inspiration? And so those are the things which, when we start talking about all this, I had to really take them and distill them down in these, like yesterday I was reading about need, wants, and desires. When you go to the dictionary, it sounds like you're talking about the same thing. And I go, okay, so there's a want, and then there's a desire, and there's a need. And I was having a hard time because the separation of them seems so small. But yet, when we talk about desires, which is part of the whole thing here, in my mind, sometimes there's a negative connotation at the end. Because if you went for a desire, obviously you weren't truly who you were. I go, okay.
I think the idea is that desire is what is used to describe when you're wanting something in lack.
Right.
Most of our, because I've always put it together with our human desires.
Okay.
Technically we don't need anything. Technically
Right.
we don't want anything. We want what we think we want, but what we truly want will naturally come to us if we just simply allow it. So that's that, because I was right there with you, because in the very beginning I was like, what the hell is a desire versus I mean, I need food, I need water, and it's like, well, those things will naturally come to you. It's the desires. Most of your desires are based in what you think you do not have.
So today, and I share with you, Pamela, my wife and I, she listens and gives me the thumbs up, but it's not quite all there. Now, where she is that if we were to look at every other person out there who's hawking manifestations and law of attraction, there are certain steps that you can do. So today I said, I had this inspiration. She goes, okay, what's that? I said, well, I'm on this path that I think that I don't need anything, and that it'll all be provided when I need it. And so I'm trusting that. And she goes, I know, but I can't sleep at night with you trusting that, because she's in charge of the finances.
Oh, interesting.
And so I said, okay. I said, all right, I got an idea for you. So I went to my grease board office and I said, I put this line down the middle and I go, okay, this is me right here with Joshua.
Okay. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. Did you just call that a grease board?
Yeah, grease board.
I have never heard it called that. Carry on.
So I'm right there and I said, now, here's the line this way, and then here's the line. I said, what you want to do will work. I said, but it doesn't get you where you truly want to be. But I have no problem with you doing that. I'm over here, I'll work this way. I said, and then at some point in time, you'll get to that level and go, well, you know, there's more to this. I said, there is. And then I'll share with you. And I said, so I want you to perk on that for a while. Just let it cook, because I think this is a solution, because I don't want to do that. I already did that and it worked, but it was harder than I wanted it to be. And it just didn't do what I thought it was supposed to do. But I said, you're really good at this kind of stuff. You'd be wonderful. I got some meditations already lined up for you. I got some affirmations lined up.
Stop trying to control her, Rayce. She is perfect, just the way she is.
I said, okay, so you just let that one think a bit about it. And I said, I'm closing down the grease board.
The grease board.
So anyway, that was fun. But, you know, when you look at that whole thing we just talked about, that the need, and when you're ready for it, basically, then it will be fulfilled. And I go, okay. Oh, so, and then everything is in neutral, so that you basically don't really have it invested in anything outside here. It's all invested in here. Okay, I got that. Then I go, then this guy comes tripping across on a little news on the YouTube I go, now let me listen to this guy. And I go, and here I am, man, it's like a fish. He just drugged me off with something. And I said, okay, I can't go down this alley again. So, but it is a wonderful journey, and hopefully my wife will. I think she will. If she does, she does. If she doesn't, she doesn't. It works wonderfully well. So.
You know,
Yep, I'm the same way with my husband. He gets bits and pieces, and he's all good with it till I start talking about someone channeling, and then he's like, okay, I'm out. I'm like, okay, that's all right. Just focus on the gratitude and appreciation and inspiration and all that stuff. But
well, you can get tremendous mileage out of appreciation if you when Esther Hicks with the Rampage of Appreciation. Man, I could change my whole state within 15 minutes of that. And I said,
okay. Me too.
I said, this is awesome stuff. And so that's what kind of moved me along to Joshua, was that I needed more. And so I'm trying to give my wife some of those things to play with. And whether she will or not, it's
hard to not like you said, try to control. It's like, just gotta let them do their thing. Okay. but they are coming along for the ride. And they'll get there when they get there, or like you said, or they won't, and that's okay too.
Some of it rubs off, but not all. I was listening to the joy meditation a few days ago while I was cooking, and he was walking around, and my roommate was like, "Joy." But he thinks I meditate too much and that I have too much time on my hands, and you know. But I think I'm here to play and, and manifest. Yeah. And I don't always live at ease, but I think it's funny. I was going through my notebook because I'm getting ready to go to the retreat, and I'll see Pam. Joann, you going? No?
I wish. No, I already had plans. I will be at one day. I just don't know which one. Maybe in the spring.
So I was cleaning out my notebook, but at the end of the year, I don't plan my year, but I sort of, what are some experiences I would like to experience? And I've probably been doing this for 10 years. So I'll write down a list of 50 or 100 things that I want to experience this year, new things. And I pulled it out. Of course, it's October. And I was like, I just make a list and I put it in the back of the notebook that I write all my gratitude in every day. And I remember the first time I did it, I pulled it out at the end of the year and I had done almost everything on the list. Wow. Like so I think desires, or I don't know that I need it, but I think you can manifest by assuming that it's going to happen.
So
Yes.
it's interesting that you say that because I am doing the Ascension Experience Romantic Relationships course right now. And the assignment for this week is, as part of your morning routine, try to go within and listen for an inspiration for you to do that day, and to pay attention if there's any type of fear that comes up and why you would have that fear, what have you, and then just see if you will actually do that inspiration. So I think that's along the same line, Tami, where you're
Yeah.
just going within and saying, what would I like?
Okay,
Not
what would I
necessarily
like,
from a,
like
not for Black, but yeah.
because I typically go on one kind of long trip and then 4 or 5 short trips. And but I have chosen a like my husband wouldn't fly. I always attract people that don't like to travel. So I end up going by myself a lot. And and it's really funny because, and when I pulled it out, it was like, oh, I've done it. I've done a lot of these things. And I often judge myself by not doing enough. Like, I think I'm not doing enough. And then people say, what? Because I do have a lot of quiet time and time alone. I end up with a lot of quiet time and time alone, but I don't always have someone to go. So one of my needs or desires is some fun people to go do things with. And, and I don't lack it, but I don't always reach out either, and I live in a small town. I don't have a lot of friends. And I have some friends, but like half of my friends travel like me, and they could be, one's in Texas and one's in Florida. And, my yoga friends, most of the people I do yoga with or kayak with. So I've, what do I need to shift? Like, I still have beliefs, like I need somebody to go do it with when I can have fun alone or with people. So that's one of the things I've manifested is more quiet time this year. And even though I've traveled in groups of 35, I still go by myself sometimes. And but I did manifest a trip with 3 girls. So, those things kind of spontaneously happen if you just kind of relax and allow them to happen. And but I could travel all the time, but I like being at home alone sometimes too. So, you really have to lean into what you like to do and go with the flow and be, and try new things. So your inspirations are fabulous. And that's a really good exercise. Like I say, I've probably been doing it for 10 years. And it's always amazing to me at the end of the year, I wouldn't say they're goals. They're just experiences. Okay, I'd like to experience this. And I sort of,
How specific are they?
not really. It might be go to Iceland. I really wanted to see the Northern Lights, but when I went, I didn't get to see the Northern Lights. Or one was I wanted to see all the manatees swimming in a park in Florida. And I wanted to see a rocket launch. I went twice to see a rocket launch, planned it, that both were scratched. I ended up there one day and there was a launch. I had to drop a girl off. A girl asked me to take her. It's a long story, but I was in Orlando with a group of people and she needed a ride. And we ended up spending the night with a girlfriend and we got to see a rocket launch. And then my GPS didn't take me to the right location. It took me to a park where the manatees were. And there were 700 that day. They counted them.
I love
I've
it.
never seen more than 1 or 2, but I'm saying, so, I think you can manifest your desires, but I think you have to you have to just allow them.
Yeah.
Let
And you
go
have
of
to-
that. Don't try and control
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
that-
So when I
that's a-
try to control it and plan it to a T and
Mhm.
get there and,
Doesn't.
you know, oh, I'm going to the rocket launch
Yeah.
and I've got the perfect location and a spot. I even bought a tent and went camping. And it was not, you know, I had a frog in my tent.
Wow.
And even if you do manifest it by controlling and efforting, it may not be as, it might happen, but it might not be as spectacular, unimaginable as if you allowed it. You know, it's like,
Yeah.
oh,
And-
okay, that was cool, but oh wow, what else could I experienced if I had just surrendered? I always think of the
Yeah.
Surrender Experience.
Right.
Have you guys read that? Michael
Yeah.
Singer. That's one of my favorite books.
Mm.
Oh, it's really good. He's got, I mean, I think I've read everything he's written, but the Surrender Experience, the Surrender Experiment was my favorite because he just basically did just that. He's kind of like, I'm not gonna, you know, think too much about anything. I'm just gonna kind of go through life and, you know, meditate and hold a high perspective and see what the universe brings me. And it really was an experiment. It's like, let's give this a go. And things just even, I mean, he ended up even like getting in legal trouble and, you know, all kinds of things where you're like, oh my gosh, I can end up in prison. And then somehow all these things all unfolded to where everything worked out fine. And like, it turned out better. And, you know, the things that faded out of his life, something better replaced it. It was just constant, like, oh, this looks like that could be bad. Okay, well, this is for me. I don't know how. Let's see what happens. And then it's 10 times better. And so I think about that. And like you said, when you just kind of say, oh, this sounds interesting, but then let it go, then it can come to you in all kinds of ways instead of it has to be this day at this time, this way, you know. And but we're in such a habit of trying to force things and effort and, you know, make to-do lists and figure out all the details. At least I know I am. I was very much that person that, you know, it only is going to happen if I figure out the plan. And now it's like, oh my
I was a
gosh,
triple
that's
planner.
the worst thing to do. Yes,
I used
yes.
to-
Lists and reminders, and I had to know
Clocks.
all the details. Yep. Yeah. But really the surrendering is the key because it's like, okay. And it reminded me also, I don't know if you guys saw on the Facebook page, Jerry had posted something about the
Yes.
manifesting, and
Yeah.
I'd kind of been connecting to that that idea, and then the way that he wrote it, it was like, yes, that's where I was going. Like I was getting there. I was in that ballpark, but he just like nailed it down. Like, yes, it's not even that, and we can have desires or not have desires, and it's all okay because we're here for the experience. And I just kept thinking, it's like we just got like dropped off and okay, now go, you know. And it's like good, bad, whatever, try and make something happen. Great, that's an experience we haven't ever had before, being Joann, and you know, with all the parameters of Joanness, you know, my date of birth and my family and all those pre-birth intentions. Like, you know, they dropped us in a certain experience, but then it was like, go, because we've never been here. Ride all the rides, don't ride the rides, ride this one twice, ride this one backwards. We don't care because we haven't done any of it. You know, it's like every experience, whether you're forcing it or not forcing it or whatever, it's all wanted because we want all of it. We want everything. We want anything that hasn't happened, which is everything we're doing in every moment. The next moment hasn't happened. So it's something new because it's, even if it's a split second later, I'm a second different than I was, you know, and then the next second I'm different again. So it almost, when I read that, I was like, yes, it takes the pressure off. I don't have to do anything but just be and appreciate and love and enjoy. But then, you know, 10 minutes later, something happens and you're back to, ooh, let's get this done. But you know, the more and more we circle back to it, then that becomes our new habit instead of the old trying to control things. So, you know, I feel like I'm tipping the scales a little bit I'm still probably doing less surrendering than, well, I am doing less surrendering than
What was Pam's
controlling, but it's
question
getting
this
closer.
week?
Yeah,
Pam,
exactly.
what was your question? I loved it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's interesting because they don't know, Tammy. So when we were at the last retreat, Christy channeled in, there was what, 25 of us there or what have you? And Christy channeled in a spirit guide that was for all 25 of us.
I had heard that, yeah.
And that spirit guide then gave words, individual words to each individual person. Guess what mine was? Mine was surrender.
I know the answer, so I was going to say I've heard it before, but yes.
So I
totally
have
get
an
it.
indication that the words that we were given was actually the theme that we're here to explore in our life. And so I have been working on this surrender thing, and it is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do. And literally, my guides have been screaming at me for the last few weeks, saying, "Let it go, just be, just be." And I'm like,
yes.
What the hell does that mean? Just be.
Yeah. You say that like it's easy, and it is, but it isn't. Yeah.
So, yeah. And then,
totally
of course, when Joshua's like, surrender, 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 I'm like, God bless America.
Stop it. Okay, I hear you.
That question,
I wouldn't be surprised
that answer, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going back to the last retreat with Pam." My word was infinite light.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Light worker.
I'm not always infinite light, by the way. I have a dark side.
Yes,
but even my dark side is getting very small. Like
you are a true light worker, though. That in and of itself, I think.
Well, it's becoming more evident, but I can see where, some of my last limiting beliefs, and I even know who I learned them from, and I mean, going back. But I'm not always happy, but I am happy, 90% of the time, and I am in lots of loving relationships. And I do feel like your focus is important if you're trying to understand the law of attraction. And I do think you can manifest things, but you really have to get in a state of ease and neutrality. And that is the practice and surrender. And it's funny, you're the second person that's mentioned his name to me today, Joann, Michael Singer.
Really?
My daughter-in-law. I had a lovely conversation with my daughter-in-law, and she's like, "I'm listening to this book. Have you ever heard of this book? And it's Michael Singer and blah, 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 blah." So you're the second person today. And, that is usually when I get it the third time, I'm actually a little stubborn. Sometimes when I hear it the third time, I will actually do it.
Okay, give it to you one more time.
My messages are in triplicate, like, Tami,
like, hello,
come on down.
So please let us know when and how you hear Michael Singer for the third time, because I just want to know. Like, well, a week from now or whatever. I want to hear the story.
I focus on anything. All right, we can focus on, let's see if we attract something. So we've got Michael Singer, but we need something else to think about that we can attract that will be, very obvious to us, because whatever you focus on is really what you attract. So what's something, Pam, we're going to see each other. So, we've got to come up with something really cool and see if it shows up.
Something simple, or is it something that we'd be like, whoa?
Well, it could be unimaginable.
Then I wouldn't be able to imagine it or talk about it.
That's very true. Yeah. Definitely something very easy, like feeling wise, because then you're less like, that's why I've done like law of attraction tests and stuff before, and it's always like, think of a bird or think of a spoon or, something that you're like, you don't have any
Right.
huge
I've had a bird
resistance
knock
to,
on my window twice this
Yeah.
week.
See, third
I'm
time
sitting
bird.
outside and once I'm like, what is that? There's a bird
That was your
knocking.
third one, Tammy.
My-
So something with birds.
There's a bird knocking on my window. It's like picking. Like I'm like, are you trying to get in or what? I didn't know what in the world.
Oh,
A
You need to
cardinal.
leave it a gift. You need to leave it a gift.
I do. I'll put some bread out. I was feeding the ducks with my grandson. But I was thinking of Pam, and we're going to be roommates, by the way.
Again? Oh, cool.
Again.
That's so
Again.
cool. That's
Yes.
awesome. That'll be fun.
So yeah, I don't know if we want to pick an inspiration to look for or experience or to feel, and then report back on for our next week call. Is that what you're saying, Tami?
Why not?
Anybody got something that came to their mind?
I'm trying to stay open, and I feel like I'm a completely blank slate. Like, okay, any moment, but try not to force it. I don't know.
So what are you gonna do here?
We want
Tell me
something
again.
really cool. Let's do a
Cool.
dragon or a fairy or something.
Oh, you want to attract that?
I'm good with that.
Is that what you're after?
Who likes
like
dragons? You want to vote on dragons or fairies?
I'm good with either. So
I'll have to do it.
Yeah.
I'll have to see it a couple of times before I see it.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, I'll tell you about a story, and I'll send you guys the pictures too, or maybe email them or post them. I might post them on the Facebook page or something. But the one test that I did was think of, and there was a list, and it was pretty just kind of generic, things to think about. And one of them was a unicorn. And I thought, oh, that's good, because it's not like I feel this strong need to feel a unicorn, or I'm lacking unicorns in my life. But it's also something that, I don't see every day. So, if I saw it, it would probably stand out. And then, think about it for, I can't remember how long, 30 seconds or 3 minutes or some like length of time where you're just thinking about it. And then they said, then let it go. And within a couple of days, you'll see it. And, and then you forget about it. Like with your list, Tami, it's like I put it in the back of the notebook, and then I probably, more and more like just forget about all of it over time. And sure enough, 2 days later, I walk in the grocery store, and right as the doors open, there's this huge stand with all these unicorn things on it. And I was just like, there it is. Oh my gosh, I forgot. And yeah, this is like the second day. Oh, awesome. And I was just having such a blast reveling in that experience. And then it was like, okay, well, time to move on. And then I turned the corner, and there's another display like 3 aisles down, same thing. So it was like, not only did I manifest one, but I manifest two, but they were so big and prominent. I took pictures because I'm like, I want to remember this. And I go back to that day and just laugh and smile and have so much joy thinking of the moment when the glass doors like open, the automatic doors open. And then there was the first display, and how wonderful that felt. And then when I came across the second one, and how wonderful that felt. And it's like such a simple thing. I saw a display of unicorns, and it made my day, and it continues to make my day over and over every time I relive it, and how fun. But yeah, so hopefully it'll be something like that. We'll see dragons or fairies in some weird place that you would never think, and then we'll have to take a picture of, here's my dragon or here's my fairy or whatever. But yeah, that would be really fun.
So I have something very similar where I decided that my sign from the universe, where that hello, we see you, we've got you, you're supported or what have you. My sign is actually pink cars. So if I see a pink car, and they're very rare, but I'm probably averaging maybe about one a week right now. And
Oh,
I will be
wow.
at the right place at the right time. And just out of the corner of my eye, I'm like, wait, and there goes a pink car. And I'm like, so I'm like,
Cool.
thank you, universe.
Yeah.
One day I got the inspiration. I actually followed a pink car. I was like, I
Pink
wonder where they're
car
going.
stalker. I
Yeah.
love it.
And it
It's like, I
disappeared.
wonder where they're going. And then, I know, right? And I kept following this guy, and at some point I was like, they're gonna think I'm wackadoodle. I'm gonna turn around now.
No. Probably not, because they were attracted to your car and they were very excited that it was followed.
There you go.
There you go. Mutually beneficial experience.
You just drive up.
Look at
and
that
you
lady
say,
behind me.
I'm a being of
Yeah.
light, and I'm here.
I have
That's what I
attracted
say.
you.
Excuse me, I'm a being of light.
And that's when they call the police. And
Yes.
That's funny.
Well, I'm gonna have to choose dragons because I have a 9-year-old little girl who's into pretty much everything Barbie, fairies, you name it, unicorns, yada yada yada. So I think I have an unfair advantage when it comes to fairies.
See how
Dragons
many
work for me.
We can
Okay.
see how many dragons we see, and then Joanne, you can post your unicorns if they make you joy. Rayce, do you have an inspiring thing that, hey, universe?
Like,
Come
what
on.
would
Yeah, I
catch your
do.
attention? What would catch your attention? Yeah.
Well, in the morning when I go out for my ride, I see the same deer cross in front of me at the same place, like 3 days in a row, and then they go away. And then it seems like it's always animals, like these birds. I'm out in the backyard listening to Joshua reading, and this bird flops down, walks over, goes over to my shed, comes over by me, leaves. I go, okay. Next day, the same thing, same pattern. I go, okay, this is too cool. So animals love me. They just come out of the woodwork. And I go,
Cool.
so as I
Like the
drive
male
down,
version of Snow White.
You gotta post your pictures. I saw a deer on yesterday. I saw a deer. I went kayaking with my grandson, and when I was coming out, I was like, hey, look at that deer. He said, oh, it's Bambi. It was a little baby deer. It was so cute.
Well, there were just 10 of them traipsed across our front. I mean, it's all day long here. It's like
Wow.
a circus. And but they're very nice. They have cute little fawns, and because we have a small dog, I always go, come here, come. Don't go on the street. Stay back. But yeah, the animals have. That's one of the things that I've noticed a lot of is animals, which is maybe I'm, P.T. Barnum, Barnum and Bailey circus. Anyway, yeah, you guys are a hoot, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah,
We have fun.
I was so thankful that I got an opportunity to be here with you. It's nice to hear the lighter side of things.
Yeah, Rayce is my partner in boot camp, and so I was telling him about this particular meeting. He's like, "Oh, that's interesting." I'm like, "You should join us. Come on." He's like, "But I didn't do foundations." I'm like, "It doesn't matter. It's all foundational. No
It's
one."
all the same.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, it is. It's. I tend to think that they changed the boot camp a bit because, I have all this stuff I was telling Pamela. I have just plastic bins full of these spiral binders I write in, and I keep everything. So I was going back trying to find this one, and I go, I think Joshua upped his game a bit, and he changed the flavor because I cannot find what I did 3 years ago that match up the start of the boot camp that I'm on. So I go, it's okay, but it's very exciting. I mean, I've enjoyed. I love the Ascension program. Pamela and I were talking about that, and I loved foundations. I loved my wife goes, does he understand that boot camp and basic training are two different things from a military perspective? He's got them backwards. They should be boot camp first, and then you're in basic training. I go, I don't know if it makes a difference, honey. It's just how it rolled out. So,
Well, what they found was that people weren't ready. Everybody wasn't ready for the boot camp, or everybody wasn't ready for Ascension. And so some of the new people needed a little bit of basic information before they
Well,
got in.
we all jumped off the bridge and did the boot camp. There was nothing else at that time.
That's
And
true.
it was, I mean, it was like like 90 days into it. I said, have we talked about this before? Oh yeah. I go, and then that's when you realize I was reading Perception of Reality, and I got all the stuff that I underline, I make comments, and I come back to it and I go, okay, what were you thinking then? It's so bizarre. And so you begin to really see how this whole changing of your perspective takes place. It's so fascinating. But anything that's new and different and strikes a chord, hits or resonates with you, I think is cool. So I'll do that when we have it. And I mean, the QLT one was very, very different though, because we have a little QLT group and we're still trying to figure out what Daryl's talking about. He gets out there. So I mean, I'll tell you this quick story.
We love Daryl.
I love Daryl. When I first met him, he goes, "Okay, am I going to be your coach or what?" I said, "No. I just wanted to meet you and talk to you a little bit and maybe see if we could hang out." He goes, "Okay, well, what do you need to know?" I said, "Well, I don't know." He goes, "Well, let me ask you. Do you know about the Soul family?" I said, "You mean my mom, my dad, my brothers, my sisters, all these people I know, they're all collectively associated with me in the non-physical?" He goes, yeah, okay. Yeah, I know about that. He goes, "Do you know about this?" And I go, "Okay." So finally I go, "Daryl, okay, let's just relax a bit. Let's talk." So we did. So the next time I came back to him, I said, "I want to apologize." I said, "You have so much knowledge, so much the ability to just pull this stuff in and it just comes out." I said, "I'm just going to listen." And so I listened and he goes, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "Well, go back and hit this again, do this differently." So it kind of works out very well for us. But I have enjoyed, we've been about a month, once a week talking, and just a fantastic guy. I like, he goes, "Well, why did you call?" I said, "Well, I liked your smile. It's like Pamela's has a great smile." I go, I like that. And he goes, "Okay." I said, "So let's just slow down." So he goes, then he starts emailing me all these books to read. I go, "So I've got about 7 of them in here that I bought." And I go, like the one on Raw, the I Am Raw. Well, that's an exciting book because I begin to, I am raw.
Michael Singer book yet.
Yes.
I was trying to say that for the 3rd time for Tami.
There you go.
I
But anyway,
appreciate you very much.
so Daryl's a fun guy. I love him.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
This is a fun group. So it's a
Yes,
fun
we
call.
know. He talks about, I mean, I understand some of it, but I listen to a lot of books. I don't always read them, but I do read some
Right.
books too. I like to read, and I mean, everyone's perspective, but your information that you're interested in is up to you and
Right.
your choice.
Yeah.
So,
Well, when we started talking about the quantum physics, I go out and buy a book on the cosmos language, so that I can begin to listen to it. And so, it was difficult because it's like listening to that Campbell guy that we have on I mean, you want to get bored to tears in about 30 seconds, you're like taking a nap because it's way over our heads. And so I have this meditation that I ran into yesterday, day before yesterday, and it was all about DNA, and it was amazing because I went through it this morning. It's 28 minutes, and this gal, you get really relaxed, and you're sitting at this window, and there's this tremendous light coming through the window, and you can feel it just kind of. And she goes, "Now, when you feel right, step up and step through the window." So I did. She goes, "Now, then you're in this big tunnel and it's all just illuminated." She goes, "Now, keep walking, keep walking." And she goes, "Do you see it?" And I go, I didn't see it yet. Finally, I did. She goes, your body is just like a new car. I said, okay. She goes, so why don't you try out any of these cars you want? I go, but I like who I am. So she goes, well, then step inside of that body and feel it. And I don't know if you remember, Tami, when we were at the retreat, we were in that group and went around and they were asking each of us some things. Well, my hip was bothering me. And it's been bothering me. Well, this meditation, feel thyself. It was amazing. I go, and she goes, now the strands, the DNA are moving. And well, I'm already starting to feel it. And she says, play with it. Now you can stay here as long as you want. When you're done, are you going to buy the car? I go, yeah. You walk out through the window, and I said, oh, I was so, I said, this is amazing because I could feel every aspect of my body being touched by this DNA. So I said, well, that's my new meditation. And so I find a lot of these weird meditations, they're all over the place. But that was a good experience. I love that. I love meditating. It's really it centers me a lot. Yeah, it's good.
Very cool. Well, it is almost
Oh, my word.
5:25. Yes,
All right.
time flies when you're having fun.
It is.
Great
Well, you
seeing
ladies have a great evening, and
Yes, you
we're not
too.
going to be around for a while because guys are going to be away. Is that
Mhm.
correct?
No
Yeah.
meeting next. Yeah, this
So it's
coming.
vacation
Wait, no.
time.
No, this is every 2 weeks. We're good. Yeah.
Oh, we're good.
So the
Okay.
next one will be in 2 weeks. So yeah.
Oh, 2 weeks. Okay. Good. Oh, that's right. It is every 2 weeks.
Happy
Okay.
Thursday.
Great.
Yep.
All right. You guys have fun.
Yeah,
Joann,
sounds
nice to have
good.
met you.
Bye,
Same
everybody.
here.
Safe
Nice to have
travels,
met
Tami.
you and have fun at the
Watch-
retreat.
And
Wonder
watch
You're
out
gonna
for
be my Pamela.
dragons and unicorns and pink cars and
Want to see
everything
some
else.
photos?
Yeah.
The challenge is to put it on Facebook. We have to have evidence.
Awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Of the deer?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take
We'll do
pictures
it.
of all kinds of deer.
Evidence,
Awesome.
Rayce.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.